Begin in a comfortable seated position on your mat. Close your eyes and start by focusing on your breathing. Long, slow inhale through the nose and long, slow exhale out. Take a minute to check in, see how you're feeling, and then go ahead and come forward onto your hands and knees. Start by doing some cat-cows. So on your exhale, you'll round, and on your inhale, you'll arch and look up, and exhale and round. You'll do this a few times on your own time, in your own breath, focusing on your inhales and on your exhales. On your next inhale, come to a neutral spine and begin to move your shoulder and your hip closer together. So the left shoulder to the left hip and the right shoulder to the right hip. Again, focusing on your breathing, taking your time, checking in to see where you are today. Next, kickstand your left leg back behind you, and then you're going to roll your hip all the way open. And then you're going to roll it all the way closed, so a little bit past neutral. And on your own time, going nice and slow, rolling your hip open and closed. Taking note of any sticky spots in your hip joint. Go ahead and put your left leg down, kickstand your right leg back behind you. Same thing, rolling your hip open and rolling it closed. Thinking of opening your hip bones to the opposite wall and then pointing your hip bone to your left hand or your opposing hand. On your next inhale, bring your hips back to neutral and put your knee back on the ground. Then you're going to lift your left knee and start making some small circles about the size of a dinner plate, feeling into your hip joint, trying to keep your spine relatively neutral. Go ahead and switch directions and go the other way. Place your left knee down on the ground, lift up your right knee, again making those small circles, seeing what's going on in your hip. You can switch directions when you're ready. Taking this as slow as you need to go. Go ahead and set both knees down on the ground. Put your knees wide and sit your hips back to your heels. Take a big deep breath in through your nose and exhale out through your mouth. On your next inhale, go ahead and come onto your fingertips, stretching into your back. And again, onto your fingertips on your inhale, then exhale down. Last time, inhale up onto your fingertips and exhale down. On your next inhale, go ahead and come onto your hands and knees, and then pick your right foot up and put it in between your hands. Raise your torso up so you're upright. You can brace your hands on your knee if needed. Just make sure that your pelvis is tucked underneath you and you're not dumping into your low back. If this is enough, stay here. Otherwise, raise your left hand up to the sky and lean away from the leg that is on the ground. You should feel a good stretch in your hip flexor and your side here. Focus on breathing deeply. If it's a little too intense, you can lower your hand down or don't lean over quite so far. Go ahead and release out of that. You'll bring both hands to the inside of your right leg. Maybe even moving around a little to see what feels good. On your next inhale, raise your right hand up to the sky. You can look up if that feels good for your neck. And then go ahead and place your right hand down on the ground. Walk your foot back in between your hands, step back to all fours, and then step your left foot up in between your hands. Raise your torso up, bracing on your knees if you need. Make sure your pelvis is tucked, and if you need more stretch, raise your right hand up to the sky. Stretching into your side and your hip flexor on your right side. Focusing on those slow inhales and slow exhales in and out through your nose. Go ahead and release out of that. Walk your foot to the outside if needed and bring your hands onto the ground inside your foot if that's accessible to you. You might wiggle around, see if some movement feels good or you want to stay still. Next, go ahead and pick up your left hand, raise it toward the sky. You can look up if that feels good for your neck. If it doesn't feel good or doesn't feel accessible to raise the hand, you don't need to. If you did raise your hand, go ahead and set it down and make your way back to being on the hands and knees. And take a few more spinal rolls. That cat-cow, inhale as you look up and exhale as you round. Do this on your own time. Notice if you feel differently than when we first started. And on your exhale, set your knees wide, set your hips back toward your heels. Take 3 deep breaths here. Inhale in through your nose and exhale out. And inhale through your nose, exhale out. And last time. Go ahead and come up to a comfortable seated position. You can sit on your heels if that feels good. Clasp your hands back behind you and roll your shoulders back. Poke your chest out. If it feels good, you can lift your hands away from your hips or you can keep the stretch where it is. Really pay attention to what feels good. Go ahead and release that and then come into a seated position and press the bottoms of your feet together. Try and keep your spine flat here and think about hinging your hips forward. If it's too intense, you can ease back a little bit. Just try and keep the stretch in a comfortable place. If you need a little bit more stretch, you can roll forward or even raise one of your hands up to the sky, stretching a little bit more into your side. No matter where you are, try and breathe deeply. If you raised your hand, go ahead and raise up your other arm to the sky. Go ahead and release out of that. You can straighten your legs, shake it out a little bit, and you are done. Great job.